Josh Council from Badass Body Paint here for FX Warehouse. Today we're going to be applying a makeup based on the Night King from Game of Thrones. All of the makeup I'm going to go through with you in a moment is all available at FX Warehouse, and you can buy it from their Night King or White Walker makeup pack that they sell. They also have a lot of other stuff, a lot of great stuff. I thoroughly recommend FX Warehouse. They've got fast shipping, they've got a huge selection, and they keep stuff in stock, unlike many where they have to order it from other suppliers and you end up waiting. They are very fast in getting the orders out, so I thoroughly recommend going over to fxwarehouse.info and seeing their selection. I buy a lot of stuff from there, and a lot of people I know buy a lot of stuff from there, so they're great. So let's have a look at what we're going to be using to complete this makeup. First up, we've got the cowl here. That we'll be pre-painting that in a moment. No point wasting time. While the client or the model is here, we have our prosthetic, also very important. We have several colors of blue, grey and white PAX paint, which we'll be using to do most of the heavy lifting. We also have some rubber mask grease along here, which we'll be using around the eyes and for some detail work. Have some pro adhesive, some 99% isopropyl alcohol, some Bond Off to remove the makeup, and some no color powder. We have a cup for our pro adhesive and one for our alcohol. Have some Q-tips. Have our contact lenses, because no White Walker is complete without the blue contact lenses. I have just a chunk of couch foam, which is just cheap, sort of throw away. I think I've already mentioned the Q-tips, some foam wedges, and a disposable wax paper palette. So, and a removal and a glue brush, and some small detailing brushes. So that's pretty much everything we're going to need to get this makeup done. So the first thing we're going to do, because the model's not here right now, don't want to spend as much time as possible doing the makeup. We want to try and get it done as fast as we can. So we're going to do some pre-painting on this cowl, which will save some time when it comes to actually applying the makeup. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a base coat of this sort of grey colour, and this is the grey PAX. So I'll just pop some there. There we go. Sorry about that. And just get a sponge, and we just start basically stippling that over the whole thing, like so. Make sure that you get it into all of the deep sculpted parts. I like to store a cowl on one of these styrofoam heads. You can get them for only just a few dollars from somewhere like Sally Beauty Supply or something like that. I think they're like $4 or something. If you don't have one of those, you can get like a shopping bag and stuff it full of other shopping bags, just to help pad the head out so that it's a little more full, so you're not fighting the latex flopping in and collapsing. So I'm going to go ahead and finish basing all of this out, because I think it can be a little tedious watching someone sit and base everything out, so I'll be back when that's done. We're all done basting that out. I haven't done right around the very bottom edge because this character has a collar, so this is just all extra to sort of tuck into the wardrobe. Got quite a bit of this PAX left, so I'm going to just take our prosthetic. I'm just going to kind of just stipple the base coat onto this as well while I've got it here, and that will also save a little bit of time when our model is here and ready to go. So you want to avoid doing the very edges if you're pre-paxing your prosthetic. I normally like to leave about that much around the edge, just because if you start putting the packs right up to the edge and it curls over, you can lose your really fine blending edge, and it won't blend as nicely as what you want it to. So I'm just going to finish paxing this all out, and I'll see you again once that's complete. Okay, so we're here with James. James is going to be our model. James, how many times is this you've worn prosthetics now?
Gracious. I've lost count, to be honest. But
James is kind of like the Doug Jones of Utah. Like, he does most of the prosthetic work around the place.
Thank you.
And so when he said he was interested in doing this, I was quite pleased.
I was quite excited to be working with Josh as well. We did a really brilliant full body paint of Frankenstein's creature, and that was a lot of fun. So when he brought up the opportunity, I was very excited to be working with him.
Okay, so when last we met, we were paxing this fella out, and you can see that I've left the edge. I don't want to bugger up my blending edge. Left it around the edge and the eyes. I got a little close on the mouth there, but I still think it's fine. We're going to go in, we're going to pluck out some of this flappiness, and just look at the edge. This is called plucking the edge. If there's any bits that are a little too sort of flappy, we want to remove them because they're going to prove troublesome when it comes time to apply this thing. But I think this edge is actually pretty good. And we went ahead and got the cowl on. Now, if you have trouble getting the cowl on, normally I would recommend cutting a little bit out under here, but this has still been cut a little low. We don't have a lot of room for slops. So what you can do is just cut a little slit at the back with a circle at the top, just up to sort of up to about here, and then that should allow it, and then the collar of the character should cover that. If that's a problem. We didn't have too much of a problem. We did the plastic bag on the head method, so it created some slip, and we're good to go. So we need to make sure that our cowl is centered properly, and so let's get going. I'm just going to tack down the cowl so it's not pulling on the prosthetic. You can see this sort of flares out a little bit, so I'm just going to pop a tiny bit of the pro adhesive around there just to tack that down. You don't want to go too crazy with the glue on this, especially if you're planning on reusing your cowl. The cowls are reusable. I don't personally reuse prosthetics. I think that's a little grody, but I know that some people it's cost prohibitive to have to use a fresh one every time. So if that's the type of budget that you're working with and you want to be reusing it, make sure that when you remove anything from the cowl that you're using alcohol only, because you don't want to put Super Solve onto the cowl or Better Bond or whatever your brand of remover is. So you don't want to have too much glue, you just want to keep it in place so you see it's not going to move around. And then we're going to put this up on, make sure that it's going to fit properly. Okay, and make sure that, turn your head this way, make sure it's going to cover everywhere we need it to on the edge of that cowl. Okay, so we're in good shape there. So I am going to go ahead and start anchoring this piece down. Now when you anchor your prosthetic, you usually do it in the center of the piece somewhere. So I'm just going to put a little bit here. I'll do the top lip at this time as well. I won't do the bottom lip just yet. And I will do the upper eye as well. Now I personally don't glue over the eyebrows. I leave the eyebrows glue free just because it's a mercy to the actor. If it's just a small little piece that's just covering the eyebrows, then you don't have much of a choice. But okay, so let's get this up and onto here. So make sure the nose is in place. Breathing is overrated, but that's still important. Okay, make sure that that's all on there. Make sure that okay, so that feels like it's on there pretty well. I might just pluck a little bit of that off there. Just keep your eyes closed for a minute. I didn't put much glue there, so it's probably fine, but I don't want to risk having you glue your eyes open until I throw a little powder on there. Fold this down, and I'm just going to hit that with some glue. This way for me. Now you don't want to pull this all the way back so it starts lifting the glue off, because that can damage the actor's skin. Move your face back forward again. Oops. Don't want to have my head blocking the... Now, different people have different reactions to the glue. So some people's skin really loves the glue and will stick really well. Other people, their skin does not like the glue and will have a really hard time getting it to stick. Okay, I'm going to get a Q-tip with some glue and just kind of get into some of these sort of harder to reach spots. We're all glued in. I'm just going to take a Q-tip and some alcohol. I'm just going to run it around the edge here. If you pop your head down just a little bit, you can see here there's some weird wrinkliness going on, so I'm just going to deactivate that glue and reposition. There's some stuff here where it's a little rolled over. Just going to fix that. There we go. Well, that took a little fixing. And I'm just gonna run this around the edge here just to make sure that everything is as it should be. And I'm going to take some of our PAX color, and I'm just basically going to run that all the way around the edge. Now when you're working with PAX, try not to get it into the actor's mouth, it kind of sucks for them. And when you're working around the eyes, don't put PAX right up until the eyelashes. Leave a little bit of a room there, and we're going with some grease paint to fix the rest of that. But once we apply this around the edge, we should have a pretty seamless character. Should look pretty complete. I should have blended our edge in pretty well. Okay. I'm going to use a Q-tip with a little bit of this PAX just to do up and in around here. And it's mostly just so that the foam is covered, because we don't want our foam to absorb differently. A little bit there is annoying me. Just going to pluck that a little bit. It seems to be better. Alright, so because PAX has a little bit of stick to it, I'm just going to quickly whiz around there with a quick thin coat of powder, just to make it nicer for him so that he's not sticky. Okay. So our next step now, we're going to take some of this rubber mask grease and we're going to make a lighter colour. You can see that's quite darker than this one. So we're mixing a little white with it, trying to get it somewhere in the right ballpark. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we definitely want it to be a little closer than that. It's looking a little closer. This still has a lot more yellow in it, but I think that that'll get us pretty good in a pretty good spot. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my brush. Just close your eyes. look like Uncle Fester. Just darker around the eyes. Okay, look up at the ceiling. So you can see there's quite a disparity, not the word I'm looking for, my mind just went blank, between the grease paint that we put around the eyes and the packs on the face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this, I'm just going to start working some of it into some of these creases, just so that it brings it all much more congruous tonal values in the face. And this will also help us do a little sort of subtle shading as well and bring out some of the sculpt. This particular character doesn't have a bunch of contrast like some of the other White Walker characters in the show. Some of them are quite contrasty, but this guy is kind of subtle. So, working some of this into some of the creases in the sculpt. Some of the kind of deeper spots. we will be sponging over this whole thing with another sort of lighter grey colour, but this will help just bring out some of the deeper spots, because that's going to be kind of like a light sponge, just a dry sponge over the top. Some of you may be wondering why we use rubber mask grease instead of just regular makeup. Well, foam latex doesn't really like regular cosmetic oils, the oils that are in regular grease paint or cream foundations. It'll start breaking down the chemical composition of your foam. So the rubber mask grease has a castor oil base, so it's not gonna affect your foam latex, because castor oil doesn't hurt your foam. So you can kind of see that as we're starting to bring that grey colour through the makeup more, it's not as crazy of a difference between the eyes and the Pax paint that we put on. easier. I'm just kind of blocking in some of these sculpted details on the cowl and the top of the head. The shading around the horns. We'll turn the chair around to do the back of the cowl in a little bit, but I'm just over here. Just basically just sinking in some of these deeper areas of the sculpt. The difference between that horn and that horn is not noticeable visually, but as soon as you touch this one it goes squish, and as you touch this one it's like bonk. Run around and make sure that everything is looking balanced. I'm not going to do too much on the neck because mostly that gets covered by the collar. And again, because it's grease paint, you need to give it a quick powder to set it, as we will be going over that again with some PAX paint, and we don't want our PAX sitting on oily, unset makeup because it will make it messy. You do. Spot that's coming up there. And add a little more glue in here. I noticed that this edge was coming up. Just need to let that dry, just put your hand down. Let that dry and then we'll glue that back down. Our next step, I've kept my grease paint off to the side. The next step is we're going to mix up a colour. Oops, that needs a shake. Now that's going to be somewhat somewhat light. I want something a little more muted. So I'm just going to add in, oops, just a tiny bit of our grey colour. See where that lands us. Alright, I'm kind of digging that colour. So now we're going to take a sponge, we're going to get some, and we want to make sure that it's not got too much product on it, because this is going to be what's called a dry sponge, because we're only going to just be sort of working it very lightly over the top to bring out the sculpt and to blend everything together. So you can see it's not a huge difference from the base color, which is what I want. I don't want it to be where it's like, oh my goodness, look at that really contrasty difference. We don't want that. But you will notice that it tidies up a lot of that grease paint work where the brush was a little fatter than the area on the sculpt that I necessarily wanted it to be. So this kind of brings it more into line with the sculpt and making it more subtle. I am just hitting the eyelids very lightly with a little bit of that Pax colour. Don't open your eyes. Just because now we've got a layer of grease paint on, it's not going to really stick to the skin, it'll be stuck to the grease paint, so it'll come off with regular makeup remover. So you can see I'm just basically using this to soften all that we did with the grease paint so that it doesn't look like these big heavy brush strokes. Okay, can I get you to do this? Tighter, like you're sucking a spaghetti. Okay, relax. Okay, a little bit coming up there. Okay. That's better. That's better. Okay. So again, I'm going to save what's left of this packs in case we need it. And I'm going to take the black. There's some black on here. I grab just a little bit of this grey because I don't want it to be a full value black, because I don't think that it is. But he has black or a very dark grey around the eyes. So now this should really bring out the eyes, that eye colour. So just close your eyes for me. A little bit of powder to set that. And look up. Wow, that's reading way darker on camera than it does in real life. But he does actually have almost that dark eyes. Look over at my reference I'm working from. They're very, very dark in around the eyes. So, I may just sort of do a little blend out on that a little bit, so it's not quite so stark, because it is very, very dark on camera. It looks right to the naked eye, but to camera it doesn't. So close. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit of that lighter grey colour that we mixed up at the beginning, just to soften that down a little bit. Look up. If that's helped a little bit. Maybe I'll Just pop over a little lighter Pax color again, just to kind of. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. I think we're good. Okay, so the front is largely done. I'm going to go with a with that light blue Pax color. I'm just going to do a very super light sponge over that with this one here, and that should really pop a lot of the really high points. And then we'll do some white, which will sort of frost the horns and some of the other things that I'm not doing the whole thing, I'm just doing little kind of patches of colour on the top, because we want it to kind of have that slightly mottled, kind of frosty ice look. So at this point I'm really just trying to hit just the very, very topmost parts of these, just to provide a little contrast in colour and a little variety in colour. One thing I noticed though when I was looking at this makeup is it's very, very muted. The whole thing is very close tones to each other. It's just a little bit of variation in the sort of greyish blue tones on the thing. So. That's looking better. Okay, so I think we're ready for the white patch paint. Now the white we are going to have to use very sparingly because it's going to really be really contrasty with the rest of it. So we're wanting to kind of in the show, I'm pretty sure these are translucent because you can kind of see the light coming through them a little bit, but I haven't come up with a translucent foam latex yet, so anyone sort of wanting to go for translucency now uses gelatin or silicone. So we just have to do the best we can with the opacity we have. How's that looking? It's looking pretty good. Looking pretty good, dude. You can see that I'm kind of fading the white down a little bit. I'm not just having a stark end to the white because that would end up looking ridiculous. And we don't want ridiculous, we want cool and accurate. So.
That's the problem with Starks.
What?
That's the problem with the Starks.
The problem with those damn Starks of Winterfell. So inaccurate.
They were just a little more cool-headed.
Now, I will say there's one thing I've forgotten to do, which I just noticed, and that is that I haven't gone in the ears with that darker grey yet. So I can still see James's very fleshy pink ear in the ear holes, and that is undermining the look of our piece. Dare I say, we are almost ready to turn you around and do the back.
Brilliant.
Once I fix this ear hole problem. You and your problem ear holes, James.
I just listened too well.
Okay, let us go. Okay. Now if you're so inclined, you can cut those ear holes out more if you like. I'm thinking this is looking pretty good. So let's get you turned around.
Excellent.
Okay, so James is in trouble. He's facing the wall.
And it's a very tall wall.
Very tall wall.
Built of ice.
Not anymore. Whoops, spoilers.
Oh.
So I'm going to take some of this original grey colour that we mixed. You can see that I started just sort of knocking in some of these details. I am going to do some just mottly kind of just textural stuff on the back here and a little on the top. And a little bit of this could turn out to be quite a long tutorial. Now that I remember the steps I did before. Now we had that lighter grey Pax colour. So I'm just going to kind of tap that. Yeah, it's looking. Normally I would do all of this kind of mottled, icy look with an airbrush, but so this is a good, just really lightly trying to bring out some of these neck wrinkles. And the white. Just And I'm just going to pop a few little white bits in there just to help sell that sort of icy You can see that I'm using this quite dry because I really don't want to have super white. I'm just going to bring that out a little bit. Okay, so one last thing we need to add in is a little bit of this lighter blue kind of color, just so it kind of blends with the front. And again, we're doing this super light. It's all about letting the sculpt do the bulk of the heavy lifting for us. And there we have it, our completed White Walker makeup. Keep turning. And don't forget to buy your White Walker kit and your prosthetics and your cowl, and you too can look awesome like James.
Winter is coming.